thank you, Grant, for inviting me today. I'm really happy to be here to speak to you a bit about research culture and what we're doing at Cambridge. So I thought I would start by introducing you to the research culture team. We're relatively newly formed, but all three of us have been working in this area for at least a couple of years, and particularly Liz Simmons, who's the head of research, came through it through careers and work she was doing at the Postdoc Academy. So we are a small team. We have a head of research, we have a community manager, and I'm a project manager. And my main role is to help usher along a series of funded projects that I will talk about a bit about later. I also just wanted to point out, we've ended them for February. We're going to start them again in April. But one of the things we are running to kind of introduce ourselves to the university are these bookable research culture surgeries, which is not in the way that you do surgery. But we are happy to sort of open things up and have a look. And, but you can come, I'll send them around when we open them up again in April. But it's a chance to book a one-to-one session with one of us to talk about any questions you might have about how you can implement something in your own department or group. But let's get right into it. What do we mean by research culture? There are many ways you can look at it. The working definition put forward by the Royal Society is that it describes the environment in which research happens, and this includes the norms in behaviors, expectations, attitudes, and values of our research communities. In practice, though, we are really talking about these various ways in which we can support, manage, and mentor those who work for us and with us. How can we think about valuing different contributions, broader contributions to the research endeavor? How does the research actually get done? Who contributes to that? And can we recognize everybody who participates in that? And so that comes down to rewarding and recognizing all of the individuals and the group, all of the sort of parts that go into producing research and indeed disseminating it. And then creating safe and inclusive work environments, and how do we work collaboratively and openly, sort of sharing our findings, finding connections, all of that in a sort of spirit of collaboration. There was a great talk by an astronomer a couple weeks ago, and he described research as show and tell, not hide and seek. And I think that is the new mantra that I'm adopting in this sense. I think, how can we foster that in a kind of safe and productive way? So the research culture as a term is relatively new. It's an evolving conversation, and it is only now just beginning to be slightly shaped by REF, although that is not yet firmed up, so I'm not really going to talk about it in light of REF. But it began sort of in, this gives you a kind of timeline, basically. I don't think I'll go through all of it. The main one is this report done in 2020 by the Wellcome, which asked people across the sector, researchers across the sector, what they feel about the environment in which they're working. And it revealed some troubling insights into the sort of degrees of stress and anxiety, bullying and harassment, all kinds of issues that were prevalent across the sector, and the state of unhappiness of some researchers. And this has kind of, built an evidence base and also spurred some initiatives to change and improve. We then have the revised Concordat, which kind of propels a new agenda towards focusing on development and having a kind of certain parameters in place to help support researchers. We then see funders starting to request or indeed demand or insist upon people kind of accounting for the research culture of their groups and teams when applying for funding. So the condition of funding is kind of, or decisions around funding are tied to whether or not you are sort of enabling positive research culture. And I think this has kind of really grown into now you can't really go on a university's research website without seeing their research culture page. It has become a kind of mainstream topic of conversation. There are conferences around it. It's something that across the sector we are looking at and working on and building on. And now we have REF 2029, the PCE, People, Culture and Environment, accounting for this 25%. The way in which this is working has yet to be determined, but with that kind of on the horizon, I think the conversation is also picking up around it. So why should we focus on research culture? We have long been aware of many of these challenges. So at the top level, you can think there's a certain point at which people are saying, we're no longer willing to say, well, this is just how it is in academia. Maybe it doesn't have to be that way. It is also a helpful umbrella term to kind of get people in, people like Karash, who have been doing this kind of stuff without a name for it necessarily, but to say, actually, yeah, this is what we are practicing, or this is what we're thinking about when we do these things. It's research culture. And we're increasingly seeing that researchers themselves are looking to work in places with positive research culture. So it's a way to make sure you can recruit and retain the very best researchers. Again, there's the policy levers. Yeah, everyone else is doing it. We don't want to fall behind at Cambridge. And because it's the right thing to do, we can. So why would we not try and improve the environment in which research happens? So how are we doing this at Cambridge? We have this small team that I introduced. We also are led by a steering committee with members from across the university, or across different schools, different career stages. We have a mix of both professional services and academic job functions. And we have developed 4 institutional priorities, which I'll get to in a moment, that are sort of helping shape the agenda within the university. And the other thing we do is we advocate for change on various committees, we fund initiatives, and we seek to celebrate achievements and kind of raise the profile of people and departments who are doing good work. So to give you a sense of kind of what's in scope here at Cambridge, it's pretty broad, and a lot of these issues are covered across other areas of support in the university. So I think there's, I would call it kind of productive partnerships, I guess, with sort of, for example, the EDI initiatives, with the postdoc academy, with the careers and research developers, those kinds of things, researcher developers. There's a lot of open access. We work a lot with the open research team. So this is kind of what's in scope under the large umbrella of research culture, and yet a lot of it, there's already good work established throughout the university, and so we just work in partnership with them. Our priority areas for the university, and again, these were established by the steering committee and approved, is it the General Council? I can't remember the name, the top body. So we're looking at access and participation. So who has access to research careers? This is something that's looked at in the student context, but it's not necessarily looked at or considered widely in careers. And once you have that job, who can participate, or can everyone participate fully in what's expected of them in that role? Can they attend the seminars? Can they manage the workload? And the next one is challenging interpersonal and group dynamics. So this is a big one and a challenging one. How do we support researchers who are struggling with this? How do we identify where these kind of pinch points of challenges are occurring, and what can we do to help support people to kind of get through that? Precarity. So this is an issue that we can't solve as a university alone because it is a sector-wide issue, but we're looking at how can we address some of the issues created by fixed-term contracts in early research careers. And then time and space. So how do we ensure people have the time and space to embody and enact good research culture? There are a lot of people at this university dedicating their time and energy to this, and that might be taking away from other things they could be doing in their role or some research time. How do we make sure that those people that they're not always the ones having to do this work, and how do we make sure that other people can have time and space? So we haven't worked out exactly how we're doing this yet, all of these things, but these are our kind of 4 priorities, and I would welcome kind of feedback or insight from this audience about any of these. So to give you one of the ways that we are tackling these or looking at our priority areas is through these grants that we have funded, the Enhancing Research Culture Fund. We have funded 27 grants. There are 5 large grants of up to £100,000, and the rest are up to £20,000. And here are just a few that I thought might be of interest to this particular group, but they range across the schools. And I think they consist of kind of both sort of development programs or different initiatives, and then there are a few sort of research studies in and of themselves, which I've listed down here. And just to give you a sense of how this is kind of one of the ways that we are trying to tackle this is by giving different groups money to run different programs, and we're going to be evaluating how that goes. A lot of these we're hoping to kind of be able to embed or start up in other departments in relevant contexts. The other thing we are doing is a scoping project. So we're going from department to department, so we will get here eventually. And we have a framework with some kind of prompts that are related to the themes that are sort of our priority areas. And we're asking people to gather kind of a small group within the department who might be knowledgeable or interested in research culture issues, and to kind of fill out the form as much as they can, identify their challenges. There's a bit of a maturity model, and then essentially we're coming back for a conversation. So we're looking to gather a kind of baseline of where different departments are, where their challenges are, and again, how we might provide support for that, and also identify areas of good practice that we can then share widely so other people could adopt that. Because I would say one of the key issues we have is people coming to us saying, I want to do this, but I don't know where to start. Yeah. And I'll just end here, but I think this is a QR code for our SharePoint. So if you'd like to know more, please join the SharePoint. We have news, we have documents. It'll give you more insight into the grants we fund. You can sign up for the surgeries and all kinds of things like that. So thank you. Yeah.